What's up, guys? I cannot believe this happened to me, where a tenant did some undeceitful, untrustworthy things. And this is a horror story, I would say. So you'll definitely want to stay tuned until the very end to hear this. That way you don't make the same mistake, because it's good to learn from your own experiences, but it's even better to learn from others. But firstly is I actually need to get this beard all trimmed up even more. All right, so we're getting the trim going. Which side is it, Jeff, that is a little bit patchy? Is this side that's patchy?
It's this side.
Okay, it's this side. The main thing that I've learned with growing a beard is it just takes patience. And that's the same thing that Jeff keeps telling me, is you just gotta be patient. I'm like, can I just throw some hair from this side or something over here? But no, it's consistency and just sticking with it. All right, so we are now officially completed with the beard trim. There's actually more hair over here. There's a little bit more patches here. Jeff there in the background, who's my go-to barber. It's been a while for me just to get here, but it takes consistency. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right into it and talk about it. But first, we gotta park because it's a little dangerous shooting content and also driving at the same time. I'm sure you guys wouldn't recommend that. Comment below whether you would recommend it or whether you would not recommend it. Hey, dude, or just comment anything below. It helps for the YouTube algorithm, you guys, and I also enjoy hearing from you. But going back to the story, is this was when I was green behind the ears and still figuring a lot of things out. And I was wearing the leasing hat because it was multiple roles when starting the business, both my partner and I. So this specific house that we put up for rent to then start to get people in to actually start paying us as far as to actually live in the house. So the ad's up now. And myself, I'm the leasing agent, so I'm taking all the calls that are coming in, and now I am also doing the showings. So there's multiple candidates that end up walking through it. And this one family in particular, that there was a husband, there was a wife, there was a kid that was on the way, there was a kid that they already had around 2 to 3 years old or so, and then there was a grandmother. So after I walked through it, I thought, okay, this is the ideal family that we actually want to be in here. Perfect. Everything that they were saying as I was walking through it, they said, we're going to put our bed there, we're going to put the TV there, we're going to put the couch there. So they were already talking as if they actually lived there. And I said, okay, this is good. Now let's go ahead and proceed with the next steps in filling out the application. And they were excited as well. And I told them what they were aware what the rent was, the security deposit, all of the details. So they said, yeah, we'll go ahead and proceed with the application. We'll also, I always mention we need references as well. And they said, yeah, that will be no issue. But how they said it, that was a little bit questionable, and I'm always looking to pick up on people's tones, but I just go ahead and just disregard it at that point in time. But it did seem a little bit interesting, but we'll get into that a little bit later. And now the application is submitted, and they ended up paying for everyone that's over 18, $25. So it was $75 for total for the husband, for the wife, as well as the grandmother. And now it's the screening process, and how it was 3 times the monthly income, the rent and income, also no outstanding utility charges, the criminal background needed to come back good as well, and then also the references. So I got everything that was submitted to me because I was doing the underwriting and using the same screening on each applicant, because you can't be different on each one. That's where you can actually get in trouble. And then at this point in time, when I checked out the references, that's where things started to get very questionable. And when something is just not seeming right, that's when I always decide to dig a little bit deeper. And you know when that's the case, and just from personal experiences, that's when you should dig deeper, when something just is not right. Yes, and in case you guys were wondering, I was just randomly in a weight room It is hot and humid in Houston, so I actually had to take a break in between from going outside to then shooting that part randomly in the weight room and then going to a different area. But just going back to the story is that the references, I called the first one, and this goes back to what I was saying at the beginning, is something just did not add up with this family and what was being told to me. Just intuitively knew it, and I'm sure you guys have felt the same way. So I called the first reference, and when I called they said, okay, this is my current landlord, and go ahead and call them and they'll say nothing but good things. And when I called they were like, hello, who was this? And instantly I just had a feeling that this is not the right person. And I started asking them questions, such as, okay, how long have you had them as a tenant? What's been your experience with them? And they came back to me, and it sounds as if they're like very uncertain. They were just making up the answers on the go. And so for myself I could have just left it at that and just called another reference. But the current house that they were living in I checked to see, and all this information is public record. I saw who owned the house, and that did not match up with the person I had called. So what I did was I went the extra mile, and at the same time, the current applicants are reaching out to me and saying, hey, when are we going to move in? We need to move in now, which is a red flag, hindsight 2020, but they're saying we need to move in now. When can we move in? And we're ready to go. We're moving our stuff. We're going to go ahead and go with you. So they're pushing on that side. And now I'm doing the further due diligence. And what I do is, after I find out who actually owns the house that they are currently renting I go drive to the owner, and it's where the tax billing is. So where the taxes were being sent at I pulled that and saw that it was a house, and I saw who owned the house, and it was not the same person I called. So I show up there, I drive, and I know this is a little bit, some people would be like, why are you doing that? That's a little bit crazy. That's a little bit stalkerish, but it was in my early 20s, and I was just figuring things out, as I mentioned, and I was going in investigative mode. So I'm driving there, my heart is beating, like, okay, I don't know these people, and I'm very nervous. I remember just feeling all this anxiety, and as I pull up, there's actually a lady outside. And I ask her hey, I'm looking to lease to these current individuals, these prospective residents and tenants. And she said, do not rent from them. We're currently evicting them as we speak to get them out of the house. And they've done nothing but they've trashed it. They're so behind on payments, and they've just been an absolute nightmare. We really want to just get them out. Everything ended up checking out, and that person I saw was actually tied to the house as well. So that goes to show you guys is that one thing that I've learned in there is just always do your own due diligence, and also that people lie. In that circumstance, for some reason, I thought everyone just happened to be truthful, but that was my very first experience firsthand that people do some fraudulent things. I've seen some other things since then, but that was the first time that I encountered that. And then after that, I just simply told them that, hey, unfortunately, we're going to just have to deny your application due to this. And they just absolutely just flipped out and said, we're going to go ahead and report you, and you are discriminating, all these different things. And that I'm glad that we ended up settling and getting through all that, because if we would have got them into the house, that's when things would have really hit the fan. So we'd love to hear from you all. Have you had a similar experience such as that of a applicant being deceitful, maybe on their income, maybe their references? And go ahead and comment below. But in general, you guys, comment below with anything. It really helps the YouTube algorithm so more people can hear these types of stories, because as I've alluded to before yes, it's good to learn from your own mistakes, but it's even better to learn from others. And one thing that I also ended up learning from this experience is always to have a set criteria in place and screen everyone the same way, because if you don't screen everyone the same way, that's where you can get in trouble with fair housing, to where someone can say, yes, you discriminated against me because you let this person go on 2 times the income, but you say everyone else has to have 3 times the income. So be sure that you have set criteria in place. Ours is 3 times the person has to make income 3 times whatever the rent is. So if the rent is, let's say $700, they need to gross $2,100. Also good landlord references. In addition to that, they need to have no outstanding tenant utility balances, because if they have an outstanding balance, how can who's going to put the utilities in the name? So that's something else that you have to deal with, and just having set criteria and then just sticking to it and not bending the rules. So go ahead and comment below, you all. Love to hear from you. Until then, keep being awesome. Like and subscribe. The content, truly hope that you're getting value from this. Till then, keep being awesome. Thank you.